Hello, 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 everybody. Surprise, it's Tuesday, not a day that I normally stream. I'm just looking through this conservationist magazine and just to see if there's anything in here that I wanted to keep before I pitch it. Pretty birds. Oh, that's a nice bird. Black-capped chickadee. Hello, Linda and Tim. And Denise, hello. Haven't seen you for a while. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I think I'll keep those birds. I don't know what my fascination is with birds, but I do enjoy watching them and having them as images, you know, in case I want to paint a bird. It's nice to have something to refer to, right? But this is absolutely beautiful, this cardinal. Look how beautiful that cardinal is. And here he is in a small size, so we're gonna that way, and then that magazine's done. Goodbye. Anyway, yes, so some new bird pictures. These are nice when you find things like this where you get the different poses of the birds. That's nice. That's nice just for the detail of the feathers and stuff. I used to paint a lot more birds than I do now. Anyway, there you go. Done. Task done. Now I just need to know where to put these. Okay. There is a cardinal right outside my window, just having a good old time. Oh, health issues. I hope you get better. So this was another image I found in a magazine. If you like books the way I like books, that makes your heart just sort of go pity pat. All of these are watercolored books in different configurations. I love that. So I cut it out. So I'm going to put it in my journal somewhere because I love that. That's kind of what the bookshelf where I have my books looks like right now. They're all kind of wonky, but I just think that is the most beautiful image. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, okay. Enough whittering about that stuff. So I showed this a while back, like quite a while back, that I bought this little, it's a little, it's a dollhouse book, as it says in the name. The name of it's Hello Spring, which we're not in spring, but, you know. Anyway, it's fabric. The fabric is wonderful. And I just thought I would show you. I'll take you on the journey of creating it and let you see what I did so far. So this is the book. Materials needed. I just cut this part off of, you buy the panel. So you buy the whole panel, which is what I did. Bought the panel, which was $20. There's the tag from it. $20. And then I cut this off the bottom because this is going to be a Christmas thing. So I'm going to add it to my stack of things to go in the journal that I'm working on. Hello. Is it Lynn? Hello, Lynn. Good to see you. Glad you're here. So what I did was I just took a folder, manila folder, only it's craft colored. And I took all the instructions because it's very hard for me to see things when they're all wonky, you know, because some of it, in order to get it to fit on the yardage that they provided, you had to turn the fabric this way and that. And I'm like, I can't do that. So I cut all the instructions off And then I decided to, because they're flimsy, you know, because it's just a single layer of fabric. So I just used glue stick and I just stuck them onto this. This part was too big, and so I just took a random piece of cardstock and put glue stick on the back of that and put the rest of it back here. So the assembly and so forth. The nice thing about this was that there was a QR code also included, and so I can watch them put this together in a video. So that was really nice, and I thought that was a great idea. Anyway, so then I took the fabric and I cut the pieces and parts out. So there are the little pieces that you stitch onto felt and then you cut them out. So they're thin, but they're sturdier than a single layer of fabric. Hey, Purple Nana. And then these are the pieces that go, these are the applique pockets that go on the various rooms. So that those things all belong together. So I left those in one piece. And then these are the rooms. So I'll show you the rooms. It's very confusing to look at until you start chunking them apart. Once you get them chunked apart and pair up the fronts and backs, it's not so confusing. And they're very well marked. Room A front, room A back. And so there's 4 pieces. So there's A, B, C, and D. So I have those all paired up and ready to go. So I just thought I would show you what I did in case anybody here might be tempted to do this. Just give you some suggestions for organizing a little bit. And then the whole thing fits inside the folder, which has the instructions. And so Bob's your uncle. Now all I need to do is get the Pellon interfacing and the ribbon and a piece of felt, which I have, and I'm ready to go. So it shouldn't be that hard to put together. Yay! So I got to get with it. I got to get with the program. Anyway, I just thought I would show that to you. I'm not going to be on camera as far as my face today because I am not appropriately attired, as in no makeup. Anyway, you don't need to see me. All you need to see is what we're doing. Yeah, so what we're doing is working on the gnomes that are in this journal that I made, and so that's what I'm doing. So for any of you who haven't seen it, I know we were out there for the Aspen this year. It was so good. It was so good. We got there when the aspens changed color. It was so good, Denise. It was just so beautiful. Ugh. Anyway, I love the gold aspen. I just love I love it. I just do. Okay, so this is going to be a Christmas or Thanksgiving and Christmas journal. So it's going to start for Thanksgiving. This is going to be the title page here, which I haven't done yet, but I have it. I know how much room I have to work with. This was from wrapping paper. This was one of the gnomes that I painted. These are old canceled Christmas stamps up there. So there is the little guy. These are stickers. That's a sticker. Okay, so this is Thanksgiving Day. So I planned this out as far as, you know, what days are on what pages. So Thanksgiving Day, that's another one of the little one of the little gnomes that I did. He was from a picture that I took from a tree that I saw in a restaurant where they had it decorated with ornaments for the fall. These are napkins, pieces of napkins. This is just a card that we got from somebody that I'm going to insert into the journal, and I kept it because I love the way that the text is done. Here's another one of the little gnomes that is, he turned out really cute. I like how he looks just a little bit ornery. Hello, Starla. Welcome. I hope you're feeling better today than you do some days. Here's another little guy that we did. I really like them when they look kind of ornery. Oh, it is its own beauty. It's unbelievably beautiful. It is. Okay, so some of these don't have anything other than a date on them. I wanted to make sure there was plenty of room for pictures and writing and ephemera and so forth. Okay, this guy has been painted and shaded, and let's get him together with his line art. So I'm just looking for my pins. So I have an 01 and then I want an 005 in case I want to do little bitty lines. Okay. I'm on a slant. I'm sure you can tell. So let's go over here because I think you'll be able to see him better over here. So he's ready to have his outlines. Sorry, I'm just responding to a text here. Okay, sorry, got that done. All right, so let's use the 005, which is the tiny nib, and I'm going to first of all take off my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Hopefully my head doesn't get in your way. If it does, apologies. Here we go. Sometimes I try to do kind of a sketchy outline and not make them too exact. One of my cats, the cats that adopted us, one of them is in the house, so he may come in and decide to interrupt me. And if he does, I may have to take a break and put him out. The other one didn't show up yet today. So I like having the outline to be kind of sketchy, kind of hit and miss. And I can't see the chat at the moment. I will come back and look at any comments you might have here in a minute. Let me get this guy done first. So I'm not gripping the pen very tightly. I'm letting it just kind of skip around a little bit. And if I'm not right next to the shapes, like here, then I can either come back and add a second line so it's a little sketchier, or just leave it. All right. And I'm on watercolor paper, so the surface of the paper this is cold pressed watercolor paper, so it's pretty bumpy. And that's another reason for not trying to make this a perfect outline, because it's not going to be, just simply because the paper is going to challenge me anyway. So, you just go with the flow. Just go with it. So kind of sketchy, kind of fun. So feel free to visit amongst yourselves. If you have questions, put them in the chat in all caps, and when I look up here in a minute, I'll answer questions. Okay, he has the fattest little body and not very fat legs to support him, that is for sure. Okay, and then I'm going to come up to his hat up here. I need to keep turning the book so that I can have it at an angle that's comfortable to my hand, more or less. So sometimes it's going to be upside down to you, and sometimes it'll be right side up to you. There we go. Okay, so there he is. I think I got all of the outlines for him. And then I may come back later and as I'm working on the pages and add some little embellishment to him, but there he is. He's kind of in focus now. The outlines really help with that. Okay, questions. It's better today, Starlet. Good. 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 Okay. You're in bed watching Purple Nana? Good for you. I'm glad you are. Okay, we're done with that one. Let's go on to the next one. This guy right here, this little guy is ready to be outlined also. So let's just go for him and see what we do. I'm going to have to turn him so that he is where my hand will work. So sorry for the funky angle, but otherwise I'm not going to be able to stay with the outline sort of as much as possible. So here we go. All right, I'm going to start in here with his little nose. Again, same character throughout the book. Sketchy outlines. Letting them be have a little wonk. Not too meticulous, right? Having more of that illustration kind of quality. If you are the kind of person who likes to have everything being really perfect, this is not your style. I'll just say that. I thought we would just get all the ones that I had ready for outlines, we'd get those done. And then we'll go through some of the ones. I have 3 images, I think, that need the shading and then the outlining. And then our little gnomes in this book will be done. And that'll be great because Thanksgiving is right around the corner, which is when I intend to start putting things in the book, because if I don't have it ready by the time the holidays here, you know what happens? I end up I end up with this. I end up with this, which is the book is done. I forgot all about this book that I did last year. Things were so crazy last year. I got this whole thing done, ready to fill in, and I didn't fill anything in. I just got all the pages with stuff on them. Most of them were done, ready to fill in, and I didn't get anything done. I forgot all about this book because I didn't even get the book done before Christmas happened. So there you go. Anyway, I'm not going to let that happen this year. I hope. That is my choice. That's what I've decided. We'll see how I do. We'll see how I do. Okay, back to this little guy. So my decision was to try to get, since I had a theme, which was the gnomes, my decision was to try to get the gnomes all painted and ready. To start filling in on Thanksgiving, because that's when the holidays kind of officially start for me. And since this is my first real holiday without any other things barking at my body, because I've sold my house and closed it, which I am so grateful to have done, you guys. I'm so grateful to have that done. Ugh. Can't even tell you how grateful I am to have that done. Okay, so we have some little patches up here on his hat, so we're going to add a stitch or two around the little patches. And let's outline his little lip a little bit in there. And then down here on his garment, I did some kind of plaid type things. And so I'm going to just hit and miss. Outline, just embellish a little bit, and then I'm going to go the other way because it's kind of plaid-like. Tonight we're going to a basketball game at the university, and we have some people coming to join us, which will be fun. So we'll have a good time with that tonight, I think. I'm sure. All right, I'm going to clean off my pen tips because acrylic paint is hard on your pen tips. So clean them off on just a piece of paper. That really helps. Okay, so here's this little guy. Hi, Becky. Hi, Rhonda. Hello, Christine. Yeah, I was in your audience, Becky. I saw the Drawing Kathy Whitney one. That was neat. That was really neat. I decided not to. Hi, Terry. I decided not to say that I was there because I wanted somebody else to have the chance to win. And I'm really glad Terry got it. That's neat. Or Kathy Whitney. I saw it. I'm looking at Terry's name. I'm glad that Kathy Whitney won. That's neat. You like him? His little hat had to be patched, but that's okay. He didn't mind. Okay, let's see. Are there any other ones that I don't have the outlines on? The outlines just really sharpen them up and just kind of develop more of their character. Here's one. Okay, so this little guy isn't done yet. So we're going to do him next. And so here we go. All right, I got to have my glasses off to do this so I can see. When my glasses are off, I can't see the chat. So I'll be back to you guys in a minute. All right, so here we go. Let's just start here. Same style of outlining on all of them. Sketchy. Little sketchy outlines. Sometimes they're sketchier than others. So sometimes I go back and add a second line so that they're sketchy on purpose. All right, he's got kind of long hair there. We'll keep going here. It's a little harder having it in a book like this and managing to do some of the things, but that's okay. It's, I'm up for the challenge. Sometimes I really have to turn the book, though, in order to even have a shot at getting close to the shape. If you want a sketchy look to something, get some caffeine in your life. Coffee, tea, what have you, Coke, whatever. And sometimes that'll help make your sketchy things even sketchier. A little pom-pom on his hat. I make that very sketchy. Hope my head does not get in your way today. Okay, and then we're going to give him a few little lines here and there. Just to give him a little bit of little indicator of more floppy. Okay, good enough. Good enough. All right, so there's that little guy. You can always add more details. Let me go to the other pin. If you want more details in the hair and so forth, then light lines. And that will give you a little bit more detail. So very little pressure. Okay, and then we'll call him good. But some of those little detail lines like that in the beard and mustache kind of help you give him even a little bit more character and indicate that he is nice and chunky. He's a chunky monkey. Okay, let me, sorry that I have to answer text, but if I don't, Elton will continue to call me. Hey, Kathy Patterson. Good to see you. Well, I'm glad you're here, Terry. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, let's move on. He's good enough. Move on. Let's see who else we have in here. I think that was the last one that was ready for outlines. Yeah. So we have this pair that's ready for the shading, and then their outlines. So we have that pair. We have this little guy who's ready for shading and outlines, and then I think the only other one is at the back. We have this pair that's ready for the shading and the outlines. So we'll just take them in the order that we have them, okay? So we'll just start here. And hopefully I can do this where you can see them. I'm gonna do the best I can. How about that? This part of the book is pretty chunky, but the book is all sewn together. See all the stitching? So it's all sewn together. The signatures are in the book, so we just have to work the best we can. It might be better. Let's try this this way and see. Maybe this will work better. We'll find out. We will find out if this works. If it doesn't, I'll go back to the other shot. Okay. Okay. So let's see how this works. If it doesn't work, we'll go to the other one. You want to see my cat, Rhonda? Or are you talking to somebody else? You talking to me? If you're talking to me, I'll go get him. He's the beautiful. They're both beautiful. The black and white one didn't come in today. You want to see him? Okay. Let me go get him. see how this goes. He's not used to, or Chance was used to the camera. This guy is not. This is Socks. Let me see if I can get him up here. Yeah. Look at these feet. These feet are why he's called Socks. Those are the front ones. And here's the back ones. He has 4 socky feet. He's long-haired. Yeah, he's long-haired. Can you put your face up here? Let me get him up on the table completely. He's a big boy. Let's see if we can go this way. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. This is Socks. Or if you're Elton, his name is Sock. Yeah. He's a big, big boy. Long-haired. And they roam around outside. He and his bonded partner, who is named Beckett, black and white. And Beckett, Beckett is long-haired just like Socks is. I don't know if they're litter mates. I really don't know. Or if they came from 2 different litters. I really don't know because I don't have a lot of history about them. But look at this face. I mean, this face, that's a beautiful face. I don't care who you are. But they roam around outside, so about every day when they come in, we end up having to brush them to get all the stick tights and burrs out of them because their long hair they just pick up everything. Yeah. And they purr, and they're just the sweetest boys. Then we have 2 others that are outside. Look at the whiskers. Look at the long whiskers on this cat. Then we have 2 other outside cats that are a bonded pair. They were litter mates, and they're short-haired, black and white, and then gray and white. And their names are Braveheart and Blue. Blue as in blue cheese. Yeah, but this is Socks. He is one of the ones that the neighbors left them. And so they eventually decided to come and adopt us. Now, the neighbors said that they continued to come every day to feed them and all, but these are such social cats. Both of them are. And they're so social. And, they needed attention and affection. But look at this face. I mean, look at that face. Yes. He is such a sweetheart. Bobby Socks. Oh, how funny. How funny. Isn't he nice? He's a nice boy. He's a nice boy. Yes, he is. Okay. You've had your cat sighting. So he's one of our new sponsors since we no longer have Chance and Charlie. He doesn't have the same affinity for the streaming that Chance had. Chance was like, I want to be up there with you. All this guy wants is to be patted. Chance loved being on camera, He liked watching the computer, though, too. He loved watching cat games and anything. He liked watching streams. Chance loved streams because he loved watching people's hands move on the camera. He loved that. Oh, you are just very welcome for seeing him. I'll go peek outside and see if the other one happens to be anywhere close. If he is, I'll bring him in and you'll get to see the other one. Until then, I'll put this little page back on. So let me go take a peek. Nope, couldn't find the other one. So he's, I think maybe Beckett, the black and white one. I think maybe he has another family. I think he might have another family that he cons during the day. Oh, Socks just came back in here with me. Followed me right back in here. Okay, I'm going to try having him on my lap. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to stop and go put him somewhere else. But he is now here on my lap. So we'll see how this goes, you guys. Okay, so let's see if we can shade this little guy here. I got to get my setup a little bit. I'm zoomed in really tight, and so what that does is make my space on my desk really short. So let me see if I can arrange things a little bit so I can actually get myself set up here so we can actually do some work. Okay, this is my palette paper. I'm down to the last few sheets, and then I have, the setup is the same as it always is. I have paper towels, I have palette paper, and then I have brushes that are one for putting down color and one for cleaning up or blending. So I work in pairs of brushes, okay? So that's what I have. That's the setup. You're all patient for all animals. That's good. Yeah, he's laying on my lap. He's doing this. He's making biscuits on my leg. He has lots. Yes, he has lots of claws. All right, so we're gonna start. I just always like to start with the face, and I like to start with the face and the beard on the gnome. Okay, so on the face, even though his face is really tiny, I still like to have him have some shading. So I'm using Americana Burnt Sienna. I prefer a different brand, but this is the one I have, so it's the one we're using. And I'm going to have to be really careful here because the brush that I have to do the shading with is really a little big, but we're going to do the best we can. So all I'm doing here is side loading the brush on the long side of an angled brush. Okay, only thing on my brush is water. All right, so we're going to a little bit of shading color and then blend it with the damp clean brush. I don't think you guys can see this very well. Let's go in tighter. There. All right, now the only challenge here is to make sure that I keep this in the view for you. Okay. if the brush dries out at all, it is such a Goldilocks thing. The brush has to be damp, but not too damp. If it's not damp enough, if it's not damp enough, the paint will not move. Ugh. Just don't have enough room here to be able to keep on the camera and hold a cat on my lap. He's liking this, though. I gotta say, this cat is liking this process that I got going on here right now. He is just as happy as he can be, and he is purring away. Okay. And I'm going to go around his little nose. This helps start to make the nose give the illusion of a round shape. Any hard edges, you got to chase those back with the damp brush right away. Yes, I see you. You can't get up on the table, baby. Okay, let's see if we can put a little bit of shading, same color, over here on the carrot nose. Good enough. Good enough. Okay. The parts of these two characters are very tiny, and so that makes them makes the shading challenging. Okay. On this, there's a gold, like an ornament attached to his hat. I'm going to use the same color, the burnt sienna. The bauble is base coated in gold. So let's see if we can get some shading in here, which will dull down the gold, but that's okay. I can always put it back. So I'm keeping the shading next to the green leaves, the holly leaves. The great part about doing the shading when I'm using water as the medium instead of like a flow medium or anything like that. The great part about it, no, you can't do that. Okay, hop down. Yeah, is that the shading color dries very quickly. But that is also everything, it's a yin-yang thing. So it dries very quickly. That's the great part. It's also the great challenge, because if you don't blend out the shading, if you get a hard edge, if you don't blend that out right away, you can't blend it, because the next thing you know, it has dried and you can't blend it. Okay, so there's our little bauble that has the shading in it. Everything, the purpose of shading is to create dimension. Okay, so we're going to call that good. I'm going to use the same color. Normally I don't use one color this much, but this is for the sake of not having to change colors right now. I'm going to shade the loops of the bow just a little bit. Most of that, because these loops of this bow are very tiny, most of this detail will come from the pen work at the end. You got to have enough water on the brush to get the paint to move, but not so much that it makes it drippy. Okay, that's enough bother with that. Okay, we have another bow over here on this present. So I'm doing the same thing, just loading the long side of the brush. And let's see. And a little bit on the parts of the bow right there. A little bit on the parts of the bow that curl around to the back side of the ribbon. Like so. And then where the ribbons, the ends of the ribbon hang over the present, I'm going to put a little bit of shading there. The little ties on this bow are not the right scale. They should be much bigger ribbons, but they're not, so there you go. Okay, to make this present show the sides of the package, we're going to put shading right along one edge and across the top. And then under the bow, I'm going to put some shading. And if you can't get it to show up, add a little bit more. Okay. I think that's okay. We'll pick up the rest of it. We'll fix the rest of it. When we come back with the outlining. Okay, good enough. All right. And then this scarf right here, I'm going to go ahead and use the same color, the burnt sienna. I think it'll show up on this. So let's see if we can shade our little scarf here. I'm really trying to keep it on screen so you guys can see what in the heck I'm doing. Now that color is bleeding out. The light's bleeding it out. Okay, we're going to have to go to a darker brown. So otherwise, you're never going to be able to see it. So what we're going to use instead of burnt sienna is we're going to use burnt umber, which is a much darker brown, but it's still a warm brown. So it works really well for shading reds. See the difference in color? So burnt sienna, burnt umber, they're both good. It depends on the color of red. Okay, so we're going to burnt umber here, and we're going to see if this will show up for you. There you go. So I'm putting this on the part of the scarf that's underneath. And then I'm going to put the burnt umber right up here next to his face on the snowman. And then right beside where that tie flips over. Okay. And then I'm trying so hard to keep this on the screen for you guys. And then the part that comes over the top, I'm going to shade that right at the top where it comes over. And then there's a little part right here that's way back behind the ties and kind of behind his head. Not behind his head, but behind the ties. It goes around to the back part of the snowman's head. Hopefully you can see that. Let's see. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see it. Alright, let's change to the other camera because let me put it back up on the platform thing. I think that this angle is probably a little bit better. It doesn't, I think it's a little bit better for the color also. Okay, so there's our little scarf. Okay, the rest of it we'll get with the outline. There's the bow on the present. The present's shaded. His little face is shaded. There's the little bauble on the end of his hat. You need the outlines in order to clear everything up. If you don't have the outlines, they're just super fuzzy. All right, let's put in this little guy's cheeks. You can see it. Okay. Bye, Starla. I hope you have a good holiday. I really do. Okay, to put his little cheeks in, we're going to use tomato spice. It is a pretty strong, warm red. Here we go. So I'm going to put this right on top of the shading, which is now dry. And I don't want the whole thing to lose all the color, so I come back and blend out a little bit of it. But I like his cheeks to be rosy, because after all, it's cold. And then I'm going to come around with on his little nose. Don't have to do the whole nose, but part of it. Okay, so I don't know whether you can see that or not. Sometimes I have to do it a couple times to get it to really show up the way I like it. That's a little better color. There. There, he's got a little rosier cheek. Okay, over here on the snowman, I know snowmen don't have rosy cheeks. I know that. I want a little rosiness in his cheek anyway. So he'll have a little bit of a rosy cheek there. Okay, we're done with that. Let's go to let's see, what color do I want to use? I need this color. We're gonna shade his, this is fawn. We're gonna shade his beard and mustache with fawn. And maybe the snowman too. I think that might give it a little bit more continuity if we did that. We'll find out. If it's the wrong color, I can always change it. Okay, so let's go to, I'm side loading the brush exactly the same every time. This is just putting in the shading to make pieces and parts have more depth. So I'm gonna come, sorry, trying to find the camera shot. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the pom-pom on the snowman's hat. Let's try it on the snowman and see how he looks, okay? I know he's upside down, but and we're going to come around where his head tucks into his scarf. Okay, and then under his scarf, so we're going to come under his scarf, little short strokes. Sometimes you don't have to blend it at all because it puts the act of putting the color down, everything's right. You got the right consistency of the paint and the paintbrush, you know, and everything's just exactly the way it should be. And sometimes that color goes down. You don't ever have to blend it. It's just like, I don't know, somehow it just works, you know? And other times it's a little too dark and you got to come back and hit it with a damp brush. Okay. Our little snowman, I think, looks pretty good. All right. Moving up to Santa's beard and mustache. Same color. This is fawn, that tan color. And so I'm going to come up here under his mustache to start with. And under his hat a little bit. And under his hat a little bit on this side. It's this kind of detail stuff that I really like. I always have liked this part of the process, the shading part, because it's where you really start to see the dimension. In the figure. And I know you're looking at it upside down, which often is a little challenging. Okay, so there's his little mustache and his little beard. The snowman's arm, branch, twig, arm, is on top of his beard, so that would cast a little shadow. So we put a little shading there, and then his mitten is on top. So we're going to put a little shading there, like so. Usually I have the damp brush in my mouth because it's just easier to grab it out of my mouth, but it's much harder for you guys to be able to see. But there's the shading on that. Okay, on the cuff of the Gnomes jacket, I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of shading there. And here. So that will help make that cuff look a little bit like his arm is round inside his sleeve. Same thing on this side. And on this side. If this makes you guys sick, me whipping the book around, feel free to not watch because I don't know how else to be able to show you what I'm doing other than to just be in really close like this. Okay, so his little cuffs have some shading on them. All right, now let's go to the hat and let's just shade. I think what I'm going to do with the hat is just shade the hat on. I'm not going to shade every individual stripe, in other words. Hello, Connie. Good to see you. So on the hat, we're just going to do the sides of the hat, not every stripe. The question is, which color do I want to use? So I'm thinking here just a second. I think we may use a dark green to do that. Forest green. Let's try that to shade the hat. Because we have several little things, several areas in green here that we may want to use green on. So let's try that. So I'm using a bigger brush, a little bigger brush, because we're in a bigger area. I'm going to come above his hat band. Yeah, that's a lot of green. Let's chase some of that back. Alright, I think I resurrected it. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull that back together or not. You know, sometimes you're just like, ooh, I don't know. Alright, let's see if we can do a little better job here. And not letting areas like this right here where his little hat band is, you don't want to have square corners. So sometimes if it looks too square, I may have to come back and give it a little bit more attention. There we go. Alright, let's see if we can get the rest of this. Okay, and then on down here, I'm going to treat that little white pom-pom differently here in a minute. Okay, let's see if we can get the rest. Of his little hat, the other side. I am zoomed in so close that the slightest little movement of my book and I get it off camera, so that's why it's challenging me. It's alright. It's good to have a challenge. Okay. Alright, and then this stripe, which is a great big green stripe, I'm going to come across that, because that is a big stripe. Alright, and then I may do a stripe here or there, maybe this red one. We'll give it a little shade. Maybe we'll have to do this purple one. It's a big one. Okay, I think we're pretty good on his hat. Let me come out a little bit so you can see from a distance a little bit more. Okay. This one is real stripy here. I don't know that we can move that. Yeah, I got the yellow ones up here. A little too stripy, so we'll have to do a little extra work to make those work up there. That's all right. You know, sometimes it just is what it is. All right, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this green. I'm going to see if I can make it lighter in color. And we're going to shade his hat band. The sides of his little hat band here. And the side of this little hat band, this side. And then I'm going to come across the top of this hat band. I want this to look a little more round than it looks. It looks kind of flat. So I'm going to come on this light green part of his hat band. And let's see. Yeah, I like that better. I can handle that. Okay. I can also make it even a little more round by coming right down here next to his face, which should help that band look like it's coming over a three-dimensional, like his head is round. Okay, so now we've got his band down here and his mittens. I'm going to use the same color. Alright, let's see if we can shade his little mittens next to his sleeve. And like it comes around the bottom of his mitten just a little bit. I don't know if you guys find this boring or not, but it's this kind of little detail stuff. Alright, I'm not getting that to show up. Just a second. It's this little detail stuff that just floats my boat. I love stuff like this, which is why I would spend a bazillion hours painting the Santa Clauses that Clausman carved. Okay, there we go. All right, let's do this one. But you know, if it's boring, you don't have to watch, right? Put a little bit. Doing this kind of stuff was for me so easy with oil paints, but boy was it a challenge to figure out with acrylic. It definitely took several years of trying different things to get the effect that I wanted. And when I finally figured it out, I'm like, okay, I got it now. And so every once in a while my brain just goes on hold and refuses to talk. All right. So there's his little green trim at the bottom of his jacket. This could have a little bit more here. Okay, so that takes care of that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to see if I can do the same thing on this little hat over here. And I think I'm going to have to drop down to a smaller brush because I don't think those big brushes are going to serve me for this. So let's see if we can make it happen. And then I'll look at the chat here in a minute. Let me get his hat done. And then we'll see. We'll see if I can get this done, and then I'll check the chat. Yeah, we're going to come on down on the outside of that yellow. Okay. And then quickly blend where needed. Okay. And then come back on the other side of his little hat. Not enough water on the brush. I tell you, it really is a Goldilocks thing where you got to have enough water, but not too much. Hopefully my head's not in your way here. And you have to have enough paint, but not too much. If you don't have enough, it doesn't show up. If you have too much, you end up with a big stripe. But when you get it right, it just works. It just really, really works and ends up making the item have shape. So all of a sudden it goes from being super flat to looking like there is something round inside that shape. Like his little round snowball or his little round head in the case of the gnome. Okay. All right, now I want to give him a hat band. Like I did on this one, I had made a little hat band. Down here at the bottom of his hat. So I want that. And then I'm going to put a little bit of green right at the bottom of the hat band. Okay, good enough. Good enough. I think I can breathe now. Yep, I think I can breathe now. All right, and one other thing I want to do is up here on this little white bauble pom-pom right ahead of right up here that's on top of this Christmas ornament. That needs to have a little bit of shading on it because it's flat at the moment. And even though it's tiny, it needs to have some dimension. So we're going to put some right there on that little white pom-pom next to the hat. And even though that may be like silliness to you, to me it makes a difference, right? Okay, we don't have his shoes shaded. So we're going to shade his shoes. The sticks on his arms we will get the sticks on his arms detailed with the pen work. And so let me detail his shoes here. And his shoes, or boots, I guess they're boots. I think we can catch it with some burnt umber. I think that'll be enough contrast. If not, I'll add some black into it, but we're going to try it with the brown. And as soon as I get that done, then I promise I'll look at the chat. And if you have questions or anything that you're wanting to know or comments, I will catch up with them. Okay, so I'm going to detail his boots a little bit. So up under his garment, whatever it is, shirt, robe, whatever he has on, I'm not sure. I'm going to add shading. Okay, like so. And then his toes are kind of out. And so I'm going to put a little bit of shading behind his toes. Like so. Making sure that I don't have any harsh lines. And then one of his toes is behind the present. So we gotta make those toes go behind that present. And then he's got there's like a sole on his boot. So I'm going to come kind of along the edge of the toes. That may not be something you can actually see. That may show up only in the line work. And that's okay. All right, so we have a little bit of trying to get this a little bit darker. Okay, good enough. So there's his little boots, which now look like they're up in, up inside of his jacket, attached to his body. The snowman's little pom-pom up here is the shading has kind of disappeared, so I'm going to put a little darker shading up here. It'll kind of help make it have a little bit more, just a little bit more shape to it. Leaving it white in the middle and a little shading around the edges. Okay. Anything else we haven't done? We don't have shading around them to ground them to the ground. So we will do that next. And down here, I clearly my pen slipped, or my pencil did, when I transferred the design. So I'm going to see if I can lighten that pencil mark that was there. So I lightened it a little bit. All right, let's see if we can give them something to stand on. This is going to be a little tricky, people. A little tricky. So I'm gonna do the best I can here. I'm gonna use, let's see, what color do I want to use? I'm gonna use raw sienna, which is that golden brown. I'm gonna put that down here. I will probably put snow on with the snow people later, but for now, you got to give them ground to stand on. All right, so I'm going to have one brush that's damp. I'm going to have one brush that is side loaded with raw sienna, which is a golden brown. We got to get some dirt down. You can't have snow unless you got dirt. Okay, let's see how this goes. Let's switch cameras here. And we'll see if we can do this where you can see it. Alright, so we got to ground the snowman without turning him a dirty color. And then we're going to, the brown shoes, the brown boots up here, we can paint right over them. The snowman you can't paint over. Okay, then we're going to see, it's about even. It's about what I want. Okay, so let's come out. That way you can see, hopefully, that they're anchored to something. And I need a little bit more, a little bit better shading right in here. And then, if that doesn't work for me, I will come back and add a little bit more white if I need it, because I'm getting him a little dirty looking at the moment. But that's okay. I can come back and add a little bit more white to him to brighten him back up just a little bit. Or not. I don't know. We'll see. I think he's not looking too bad. Might need a little bit more white. Okay, while we're, I'm talking to myself. All right, let me let it sit for a minute. Let me look at the chat. Okay. All right, I don't see anything, any comments I need to address, so we're good. All right. I'm going to hit that snowman with the heat gun just a little bit. Heat tool, rather. And then I'm going to come back with a little bit of, I don't know what color I used on there, but I'm going to come back with a slightly off-white. And a little brush, and I'm going to see if I can lighten the snowman up a little bit now. Because I want to put in his face, but I don't want, or his buttons and stuff in his face. But I got him a little dark, and so I'm just going to add just a smidgen of white back into him. Okay, that I can deal with. That I can live with. I'm going to put a little bit of more of this color into the middle of his beard. which may not make any difference to you, but it makes a big difference to me. And okay, then I'm going to put the snowman's buttons in for his coal buttons. You know how, they have coal buttons, right? Yeah, of course they do. And he's got coal for eyes and coal for his nose. The snowman or the gnome doesn't, his hat's all down over his eyes, so he won't have any eyes. Some fresh black paint, and we're going to get a couple of styluses here. Maybe just one. Yeah, it's got two different tips on it, so we should be good. Alright, so I'm going to dip the stylus in the black paint, and I'm testing it on my palette. So they're going to look like buttons, but instead of coal, but that's alright. Alrighty, and then his little eyes up here. His little eyes. He's going to have an eye here. And he's going to have an eye right there. Except he needs one that's a little closer in size to the first one. There we go. See, this is where you get in trouble, because then you try to make one bigger and then the other bigger, and then, yeah, then you get in trouble. Okay. All right, now let's see if we can give him a coal mouth. Okay, so he has a little coal mouth, and he's got his little coal eyes and little coal buttons. I think he looks like a snowman. I think he's okay. So now this is going to have to dry really, really well. So, here's our little guy shaded after the shading is done, and the details for the snowman are in place. This has to dry really well because it must be totally dry before you start putting pen details in. Hey, Lena. Aw, it's good to see you, Lena. How are you? I hope you're doing okay. I just have to get the black coal buttons and facial details. I have to get those dry enough that they're not going to rub off on the other page. And then I probably will give him a little white highlight, a teeny tiny little white highlight in each of his eyes, because I just like it that way. Better late than never. Hi, Dana. You've been lurking? Nice. I'm glad. That's great. And I don't know if I said hello to you, Sharon. Hello. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. When you use a heat gun on acrylic paint, be sure you keep it moving and not too close to the surface. If you get down too close to the surface, you're going to boil the paint and bubble it. Okay, that should be dry. Okay, dry. All right, so if you are up for it, let's see, we did that one. We have 3 more after that one. Let's go over to this one at the end of the book. This is the very last page. And let's see what we can do. Let's see if I can get this one done, and then I will let you guys go for today. And let's see. Let's shade the gnome, his face and all of that, because I really like to start with the face. So I'm gonna have to get some fresh burnt sienna because what I had dried up on my palette. Lena, how are things going for you? I haven't kept up with you for a while. I hope you're doing okay. Okay, so a little fresh burnt sienna side loaded on a brush, and let's give his little nose. He doesn't have a little nose. He has a very big nose. Give it some shading. For those of you that are not familiar with Lena, she has a channel. She is an amazing painter. She paints in every medium, and she does them all really well. She's in Denmark. In case you didn't know. Okay, so we got his little nose with a little shading on it. Also, while we're here, let's shade the carrot nose on this snowman. This carrot is really tiny, so can't do much with that carrot. Okay, let's go to this mustache and beard. I got to get some fresh paint for that also because the other color that I have is too dark. So I'm gonna have to get a new bottle of this fawn color because this color is just about gone. Anyway, gotta get some fresh paint. Here we go. Life is good. You're trucking on. Good for you, Lena. Good for you. How's your son doing? I've kind of lost track of how old he is and what he's doing and all that. We've known each other online for a long time. Okay. Mustache, I'm going to just come right across with his mouth. Maybe I can catch this. Come across here. That I know is upside down to you. Okay, and then I'm going to come around under his arm, under his little mitten. And over here, the tip of his beard is tucked under his mitten. So No, it's hard to see. Tucked right under his little mitten there. Okay, let's come over here on the other side. Don't you love anybody that has a watch, how it tries to tell you it's time for you to stand up? Yeah, I hate being bossed around by a watch. Although I guess it's not a bad thing to have a reminder that you've been sitting on your rear end too long. Okay. Come around his mitten. This is the snowman's mitten, actually. Blend as you go, otherwise you'll end up with a stripe. And the rest of his mustache is tucked back behind the snowman. Okay? And then I want to get the bottom edge of his mustache just because I like it to have a little bit more dimension. Alright, we'll catch the rest of that detail with pen work. Alright, and now, I keep saying alright, apologies. Put a little bit of shading up here with this, whatever this is, pom-pom thing. Up here on the hat. Okay. May have to come back and do that again, but for now it's okay. And let's come over here and shade our snowman. I'm going to use the same color, that fawn color. Come under and around his nose and under his hat. And all the way around his little carrot nose. Okay. Alright, now we're going to get the part down here. So we're going to call and around his little scarf. And down the other side of his snowball, that's the bottom of his body. And I'm going to come up here and catch what's under his scarf. So this snowman's made of 3 snowballs. So we're going to come up here and shade under the scarf. Totally under the scarf. And then just a little bit where the 2 snowballs meet. Okay. And then, like I did on the other one, if I have to come back and add a little bit more white into the snowball, because I got it too muddy or too dark, I can always do that. All right. Okay, I think that's all right for the white parts. Let's, I have some black on my palette because we made buttons and so forth on the other snowman. So before that dries, I'm going to get some black on my brush, side loading it just like I have the rest of it. And let's shade around the brim of his hat. And I'm going to go down the sides of his hat also because I want this hat to have some dimension. And a little bit more black. Again, side loaded on an angled brush. The color I put on the long side of the brush. Blend it out to nothing across the brush. Okay, and then I'm going to let this hat, see if we can make it look kind of slouchy or something. We'll see. Sometimes you can make it do what you want it to do, and sometimes not. Okay, not bad. All right, let's go work on the hat brim just a little bit. Again, black paint loaded on a tiny brush. By comparison to some of the other brushes I used, this is a tiny one. Make that brim come on around there like so. See if we can make it look like it goes around his head. And around his head on this side. I wonder where Socks went. He disappeared. I'm going to have to go check on him in a little bit. Okay. He's okay. I think he's okay. While I've got black on my brush, I am just going to shade the Gnomes shoes with black. Normally I would not do that, but that's the color I have out here that's the freshest on my palette. So we're going to use black. This is a shoe back here. Okay, this is a shoe that's back here peeking out through the curl in his beard. So that's going to be pretty dark back there. I don't really want it to be totally dark. See if I can clean out just a little bit of it. Get a little highlight in there. And then a little bit of the black behind the curl of his beard there. Trying to get a little bit of the color of his foot to come back. It's all right. It's good enough. Good enough. Okay. We're going to put just a tiny little bit of black where the stick arms come into the body on the snowman. And go into his mitten over here. And same thing over on this side. So a little tiny bit. My brush needs to be cleaned so badly. Okay, so we have his little stick arms that have a little bit of shading on them. And so now what we're left with is he's got a sleeve, one green sleeve that's sticking out, the hat and the mittens and the scarf. Okay, any questions so far? I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, let's do, well, I have the black out here. Let's put his little eyes in place. I gotta find my stylus, which is here somewhere on my desk. Before my black is of no value, we're gonna give him his little eyes. And then we're gonna give him a little mouth. A cute little mouth. Hopefully. And then let's give him a little bit of a few coal buttons, shall we? Okay, so he has some character now, our snowman does. And I need to dry that so I don't smear that. Okay, I think that's skinned over enough that we can keep going. And now I'm going to use this ultramarine blue, and I'm going to use that to shade the blue parts on here. And we're going to be out of here before you know it, I hope. And if I need to, for some reason, add another color into the blue, if this blue is just too in your face, we'll add something into it, like some brown or something. But let's shade his little scarf and see what we think. And a little blue down here. I'm not exactly following the principles of necessarily good painting, but you know what? This is in a journal, and these are little characters that are just part of this journal. So they don't have to be perfection, do they? And we need a little bit up here where the scarf goes under his head. That didn't show very much, so I may have to come back and do that again, but I'm not going to do that right this second. And let's do this little mitten over here. Whoops. Okay, and this little part of his scarf doesn't look like it goes with the rest, so we're going to put a little bit more blue, the dark blue, into this, just so it makes it look like they go together a little bit more. And this part up under the snowman's head, we're going to have to go a little bit more with the dark blue. Otherwise the scarf doesn't curve under his head. Okay, I can live with that now. I can live with that. I'll put just a little bit of blue up here in his hat. Because it just seems like he needs a little bit of blue up here. Okay, that works for me, I think. Okay. And now we got to shade this green sleeve over here. Let's see. We got to do a sleeve, and then we need to do a hat. I'm not sure what color we want to shade his hat with. Anybody have a suggestion? Since he has a pink hat and the snowman has pink mittens. Any ideas from the peanut gallery that's watching from the balcony? If you hear my belly growling, I apologize. It's telling me that it's time for food. Okay, his little sleeve has got some shading. All right, we can deal with that. What do you think about shading magenta? Hey, Barbara Clark. Hello, Quilted Jewel. I don't have a deeper pink. I have like I have an alizarin crimson. I have that. Napa red, I have that. Here's my alizarin. It's hard to introduce a completely new color because it's going to make it look kind of odd. Let's try this Napa red and see what it does. Okay, let's try this. If it doesn't work, we'll do something different. I'm not sure what, but we'll do something different. We can always paint over it if we don't like it. All right, let's go with this alizarin. think this alizarin is going to be too bright. So we're going to have to add a little, we're going to have to knock it back a little bit with a little brown in it. I'm just mixing on my palette to see what I can come up with that looks like it's going to work. All right, let's try it and see. Let's see what it does. Let's start over here by the snowman. And let's come around here. Okay. And a little bit more up here. And I'm using a combination of alizarin crimson with a little burnt sienna mixed in. And just seeing if we can get a little bit more slouchy kind of look in his little hat, which I think we're achieving. All right, and then this is a giant brush for a little mitten. But I'm just going to see if I can manage to make it work. Just to put a little bit more color into this little mitten. Just to change it a little bit and make it look like it goes with the hat a little bit more. And then everything will sharpen up with the details from using the pen. All right, one last thing that I'm going to do here. I'm going to actually get a little bit of this alizarin combo. Let's see if we can rosy up his nose just a little bit. Okay, I think that'll work. That'll make his nose look a little bit more like it goes with the rest of it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to get a little bit of orange and I'm going to sharpen his nose back up because I blunted the carrot totally. Okay, so we kind of got his nose shaped back up. And then we got to give them something to stand on. And then from there, I think the rest of it we'll get with the line work. So we got to give them something to stand on. So let's again go with raw sienna, because I just want to give him some dirt to start with, and then we can always put some snow in later. So here we go. So we got to get enough that both of them are going to be seated. Otherwise, they're just floating, and that's never good to have things floating. Okay, and I think that looks fairly even. Anyway, phew, I was rushing on that one. All right, so here, hopefully I don't have any paint on my hands. Okay, so here is our little snow guy and his friend. And we're going to call that good. Okay? I hope that works for you guys. Let me get rid of my wet paint before I stick my book in it. Okay, there is our little snow people gnome guy. So let's see, what did we do earlier today? We did this one, right? We did several that we outlined. And this one we did the shading in. So we did this one. And I could put a pink cheek on this little snow person, but I'm not going to right now. But there you go. We're done. We're done. We're done. And I think that all the painting is going to be done by Thanksgiving, which was my goal. So happy Thanksgiving to each of you if you celebrate. I hope you do. You like the stripy hat? Yeah, I like the stripy hats too. They're fun. There's another one over here that isn't shaded yet. Two of them. I have two more that I have to shade and do all the details on. Where is that one? This one. So we have this one to do. And then these guys aren't shaded yet. So those two have yet to be done, but we got this one pretty much done. He's coming around. These guys are coming around here. So anyway, we're getting there. Okay, you guys, thank you for being here, and I will not be back. Probably will not be here on Friday. Don't know for sure, but I doubt that I will be. So I will plan to see you next Monday, unless something else happens. I'll plan to see you next Monday. I don't know what day that is, but anyway, I'll see you then, okay? So, as always, remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. I'll see you guys later. Bye.